In a bustling CAF, a sense of normalcy filled the air. Customers chatted over coffee, baristas worked tirelessly behind the counter, and the hum of conversation wove through the room. But one customer's experience would shatter that illusion of everyday harmony. A young woman, confident and kind, stepped up to the counter to place her order, only to be met with something no one should ever face: blatant disrespect. The manager, a man known for his sharp tongue and condescending demeanor, took one look at her and made a snap judgment. His words dripped with disdain, his tone harsh and demeaning. He didn't just question her order, he questioned her worth. The other customers grew quiet, their attention pulled toward the uncomfortable scene unfolding before them. But what the manager didn't know was that this woman wasn't just any customer. She had a plan. With a calm resolve and a glimmer of determination in her eye, she decided she wouldn't let his cruelty go unchecked. What started as an ordinary day in the CAF was about to turn into a moment no one there would ever forget. What did she do? And how did her brilliant response leave everyone stunned, especially the man who thought he held all the power? Stay tuned to see how one woman turned a humiliating moment into an unforgettable lesson in standing up for yourself. The CAF seemed frozen in time as the tension thickened. The woman, poised and collected, refused to let the manager's harsh words provoke her. She simply asked for her order again, her voice steady, though her heart raced. The manager's sneer widened. He raised his voice, ensuring that every patron in the CAF heard him belittle her for something trivial: a misplaced word, a perceived attitude, or perhaps, as some of the bystanders began to suspect, for reasons far less justifiable. Across the room, an elderly man lowered his newspaper, his eyes narrowing as he watched the exchange. A mother at a nearby table shielded her child from the negativity but kept glancing over, visibly torn between stepping in and staying out of it. Even the baristas behind the counter exchanged uneasy glances. They'd seen the manager lash out before, but this felt different: sharper, more targeted. As the woman stood her ground, she noticed the murmurs among the customers. She felt their silent support but knew that no one would intervene unless she took the lead. This wasn't just about her coffee order anymore. It was about something deeper, something everyone in the room felt but didn't dare address. The manager leaned in closer, his words now laced with thinly veiled insults. "Maybe next time, you should try ordering in a way people can actually understand," he said, his voice oozing condescension. The woman tilted her head slightly, studying him as though trying to understand the source of his bitterness. Then, with a calm that surprised even herself, she responded. "I'll be sure to do that," she said with a polite smile, "but I think you might want to work on how you treat people. It might make this place a little more inviting." Her words, though soft, carried a weight that made the room fall eerily silent. The manager's face darkened, his attempt to maintain control slipping through his fingers. What the manager failed to notice was the ripple effect her words had already begun to create. A barista, a young man who had endured his fair share of mistreatment from this same manager, decided he'd had enough. He quietly stepped away from the espresso machine and started typing on his phone. Across the room, the elderly man who had been observing stood up and walked toward the counter, a look of quiet determination on his face. The woman, sensing a shift in the air, decided it was time to escalate things, just not in the way anyone expected. She stepped to the side, allowing other customers to place their orders, but she didn't leave. Instead, she pulled out her phone and began typing something of her own. The manager smirked, assuming she was venting to a friend or posting a complaint that he thought no one would care about. But she wasn't just texting, she was documenting. One by one, customers began to notice her actions. A subtle nod here, a shared glance there, it became clear that she was rallying the room in a quiet but powerful way. The elderly man, now at the counter, ordered his coffee with a pointed comment about respect and professionalism. The barista, emboldened by the unfolding events, started to speak up. "I think we all deserve to feel respected here, don't you?" he said, his voice carrying over the clatter of cups and saucers. The manager, visibly flustered, barked out orders for everyone to get back to work and mind their own business, but the momentum had shifted. The woman's calm defiance had ignited something in the room, a collective realization that they didn't have to accept this behavior. Still, the woman wasn't done. She approached the counter once more, her phone in hand, and asked to speak to the owner of the CAF. The manager laughed, a bitter sound. "Good luck with that," he sneered. "I've been running this place for years. Nobody's going to listen to you." But what he didn't know was that the woman had already reached out to the CAF's corporate headquarters. Her carefully worded email, complete with timestamps, witness accounts, and even snippets of video, had been sent directly to the owner. What's more, several customers, inspired by her courage, had also started posting their experiences online, tagging the CAF and sharing their stories. The tension in the room remained thick as the manager, oblivious to the storm brewing beyond the CAF walls, tried to regain control. But the power dynamic had shifted. The woman's quiet strength and strategic approach had turned the spotlight onto his behavior. And though he didn't yet realize it, the consequences were already set in motion. The customers watched as the woman, her composure unshaken, took a seat and sipped her coffee, a small but triumphant smile playing on her lips. What would come next remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: this wasn't over, not by a long shot. The tables had turned, and for the first time, the manager was the one under scrutiny. The CAF buzzed with an energy that had nothing to do with the coffee being brewed. The quiet rebellion sparked by the woman's calm defiance had taken on a life of its own. Conversations hushed as phones lit up around the room, notifications from social media, replies to posts, and the ripple of something bigger happening outside these four walls. The manager, still oblivious to the storm building, attempted to carry on as if nothing had happened. He barked orders at the baristas, who complied with thinly veiled reluctance, and pretended not to notice the glances exchanged between customers. But the atmosphere had shifted, and for the first time, his authority felt hollow. The woman remained seated, her demeanor a picture of patience. She wasn't one for dramatic confrontations, but she understood the power of strategy. Every move she made had been deliberate, every word spoken with intent. She wasn't just standing up for herself, she was creating a moment that would resonate far beyond the confines of this CAF. Then, the unexpected happened. The CAF door swung open, and a man in a crisp suit stepped inside, his presence commanding attention. He scanned the room, his gaze landing on the woman, who met his eyes with a quiet confidence. It was the CAF owner. Word had traveled faster than the manager could have imagined, and this wasn't a situation that could be ignored. The manager's smug expression faltered as the owner approached him. Their exchange was brief, the owner's tone sharp and clipped. He then turned to the woman, his demeanor softening. "I've read the reports," he said, his voice carrying just enough for the surrounding customers to hear. "And I've seen the videos. I owe you an apology not just for what happened today, but for allowing an environment where this kind of behavior could occur." The CAF fell silent, the weight of the moment settling over everyone. The woman nodded, her expression unreadable. "It's not just about me," she said simply. "It's about how people are treated. Your staff, your customers, everyone deserves respect." The owner nodded, visibly humbled. Turning to the baristas, he assured them that changes would be made, and their concerns would be addressed. Finally, he faced the manager, whose defiance had crumbled into an uneasy silence. "You and I will have a conversation," the owner said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "For now, I think it's best if you step away." As the manager shuffled off, his defeat evident, the CAF erupted into quiet applause. It wasn't just for the woman, it was for the collective courage everyone had shown in standing up for what was right. For the first time, the space felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. But the story didn't end there. Over the next few weeks, the CAF became a symbol of change. The owner implemented new training programs for his staff, focusing on diversity, inclusion, and respect. The manager's replacement was someone who not only understood coffee but also valued people. The baristas, once hesitant to voice their concerns, found themselves part of a team that listened and cared. The woman, though she rarely returned to the CAF, became something of a local legend. Her quiet courage had inspired others to speak up in their own lives, to stand against mistreatment and fight for what was right. Social media buzzed with stories of similar moments in other places, proof that one small act could spark a ripple effect. As for the woman, she reflected on the experience with a sense of pride, not for what she had accomplished alone but for what everyone in that CAF had achieved together. The elderly man who spoke up, the barista who took a stand, the customers who shared their stories, they were all part of the change. The lesson was clear: sometimes, the most powerful response isn't the loudest or the angriest. Sometimes, it's the one rooted in calm determination and quiet strength. And while the scars of that day would remain for some, they would also serve as a reminder of the power of standing up not just for yourself, but for everyone who deserves better. The CAF became a beacon of what was possible when people came together, proving that even in the face of negativity, kindness, courage, and unity could prevail.